Community Chronicles Radio, brought to you weekly by Gannon University's Erie Technology Incubator. In partnership with the Corey Higher Education Council, the Erie Technology Incubator, located at 900 State Street, works in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and provides technical assistance through the entrepreneurial process. This show features members of this ecosystem and the entrepreneurs in the Erie area. Welcome to Community Chronicles Radio. If you are listening and you would like to ask any of us a question, give us a call in the studio at 814-679-1080. I am Dr. Matthew Plotz, and with me today, as always, is our co-host, Steph Screws. Hi, Steph.
Hello, Matt. How are you doing today?
Doing great. So I texted you all so there wasn't any surprise as we came on the air. I didn't get to it before I left for my vacation, and that's something else we'll talk about here in a minute. But after discussion with producer Joel and his producer Shani, we have decided to keep the show on after this 13 weeks. So the big announcement that I had typed up here isn't going to happen. So how did you feel about that this morning?
Oh, that's great. We'll keep going and keep on having more guests. And yep, I know. There's always surprises. You never know. We'll just go with the flow.
It's the beauty of live radio. You never know what's going to happen. So
no.
Technically, I am on vacation. You guys down at the Corey High Ed are running the ship while I'm gone. Unbelievably, tomorrow I'm getting married. So it's a big, exciting time. Lots going on. My fiance is so happy I'm here today to ask questions on the show. She kept me very busy yesterday. I feel like I worked out. I'm very sore this morning, so it was good. We got a lot of the stuff done. We're feeling very comfortable and ready to go for tomorrow. So that's the big news. So not quitting the show, coming back, but people who are helping us along the way are Gannon University and the Erie Technology Incubator. So our first guest today is an Erie Technology Incubator board member, as well as the president of Gannon University. Welcome to the show, Dr. Walter Iwaneko.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, welcome. We like to start off the interviews by getting the guest's background. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and are you an Erie native?
Sure, thank you. I'm actually not an Erie native, so I came here from Buffalo. I always share this story. When I interviewed for the position at Gannon almost 8 years now, I came as a vice president. Someone in the interview actually asked me if I was worried about the weather, and I said, "Did you look at my resume? Because it's from Buffalo." And no, not at all, not worried. I will tell you, Erie's been fantastic. I grew up in Buffalo. My parents were immigrants, so my mom and dad met in Buffalo. My father immigrated from Ukraine, my mother from Poland. We have 3 children, and I'm really, really happy to say that 2 out of my 3 children are living in Erie and starting families of their own. So this is our home, and we're happy to be here.
So knowing you're from Buffalo, I have to ask, are you a Buffalo Bills fan?
Oh, go Bills. I don't know if you guys saw the Miami game. It was fantastic.
I turned it on and I watched for a bit, but I'm like, well, I'm tired. This is over. This is done.
Oh yeah. I love it's bittersweet because I love to be able to know by the fourth quarter you got the game wrapped up, but it was a little tough to watch at the end there.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I'm also a Buffalo Bills fan. I came from New York and been a Buffalo Bills fan for a long time, so that's great. Okay. So we'll transition to our next question. Not about the Bills, but can you talk a little bit about your time on the ETI board?
Sure. I have to also tell you that when I first came to the Gannon campus and saw downtown Erie, the notion of this Erie Technology Incubator was actually one of the reasons that drew me to want to be at Gannon. I'll share a little bit more why that is with my background. But when I walked through the building on State Street, and I saw this ecosystem, this business development ecosystem between ETI and SBDC and the Gannon School of Business, there are institutions across the country that would absolutely go crazy for the opportunity to have a building like that in the business district downtown. It's fantastic, and that was really one of the reasons why I wanted to be here. And then Dr. Taylor, the president at the time, had asked me to take a role on the board, and I was chomping at the bit. I couldn't wait to get in there and start to meet people. So I eventually I ended up being chair of the ETI board, and then when I transitioned into the president position about a year ago, I did step off the board just because a little too much going on at this point. But the business, the support for businesses and what those organizations do working together. And then you added the Beehive component, and not only Gannon, but the other colleges and universities in the area working together to really provide that collaborative support for individuals that want to not only start their business, but grow their business. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. You were sad to see you go, for sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So, a lot of folks assume that individuals in higher ed have always been just in higher ed, and I probably have a little bit of a unique story. I started out as an occupational therapist, so I worked in a lot of trauma care. So I worked at a major trauma center in Buffalo, worked with spinal cord patients, head trauma, burn, cardiac care. And I got to be pretty good at doing custom wheelchairs with companies that made the chairs. I had a lot of patients that needed custom chairs, spinal cord injuries, head trauma, and so on. My wife is also an occupational therapist, and she was working in pediatrics. So our first business venture is we formed an LLP, and we worked together, and we did custom wheelchair work for companies. And as OTs, we would go in, assess patients, make a recommendation, and the companies would pay us for those recommendations. That was our first venture, and we were doing that while we were working, starting a family. My wife was working in pediatrics, and she was pregnant with our second child, and I was at the time working at the hospital, teaching some classes as an adjunct at one of the local colleges in Buffalo. I was offered a full-time teaching position, so I moved into the teaching position, and my wife says, "Hey, we could do a better job of treating kids in Western New York if we started our own company." And you can imagine at this time, I was like, "Honey, whatever you want. I'm a little busy right now. I love you. Whatever you want." Well, to her credit, by the time my son came, she had contacted an attorney. We were working with the Small Business Development Center in our local community. We were working with the local chamber. She got an accountant, and we had a contract with Erie County in New York to provide early intervention services, which is for children 0 to 3. Okay. So we started, all of a sudden we had a business going.
Wow.
And so we started with a couple partners in the business. We ended up purchasing a building that was owned by the Lackawanna Community Development Center. It was in Lackawanna, New York. We did our business plan with SBDC. It was a 5-year business plan. And I will tell you, within the first 3 years, we met our metrics for a 5-year business plan.
Wow!
So
Congratulations.
it grew.
Awesome.
It grew very quickly. Now at the same time, I was teaching, and I was teaching full time, but I was able to incorporate a lot of what I was doing in the classroom, and I would bring the students into the business.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So essentially we hired OTs, PTs, speech pathologists, and it was home care, and we were sending people out to treat those kids. We ended up growing the business. Then again, you might get the pattern here. My wife says, "Hey, I think we should build our own school, because there's not an integrated daycare model where you have children with special needs and children without special needs working together in the same classroom." And that's what we did. So we worked with a developer. We built an 11,000 square foot building. We had a great model, and I'm so proud of it because we had special ed teachers and regular ed teachers in the same classroom, and then our therapists would push in and treat the kids that needed the services. We were servicing about 220 kids in that building.
Wow.
To where it grew is at one point we grew it to where we had about 10 satellite locations through Western New York.
Wow.
We had 200 employees. And we started to be a thorn in the side of a couple of the bigger competitors, and which is good, right? And we were moving the business along very well. And one of the larger nonprofit companies actually made us an offer to purchase, and we were at a point where we would had to invest heavily to grow it to the next stage. And we decided it was a good time to sell the organizations, and that was my business story.
Wow, that's an awesome story.
Yeah, well,
I never heard that. So that's great.
Well, thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The growth in that short amount of time had to kind of surprise you a little bit.
Yeah, well, I had hair. I looked like Fabio. I could do butter commercials, and then about 5 years into the business, that ended. So.
Yeah, this is Brad Walter. I'm just jumping in. One of the most wonderful things I get to see with working with startups is when they're not standalone. I love how you've tied in that these are conversations with their wife, and the accelerant of having a business partner to kind of take on the business is pretty important that we see. And you're telling the same story with how you and your wife talk through the business growth. Outstanding stuff.
Well, thanks, Brad. And I will tell you, and the folks that are starting a business know what it's like. I'm working a second job, and a lot of new businesses have to do that, right? Because you're starting your business, but you got to have insurance, and you got to look at retirement, and so you're there late at night. And I mentioned that our second child, my son, was born at the beginning of this process, and my wife and I, we're owning the company, so we're there in the office at night. We're putting furniture together, and at one point we realized my son needed to take a nap, and we didn't have, and please, I hope no one reports this, but at one point we opened up a file cabinet, laid blankets down, and laid him in the file cabinet because we were by ourselves. We didn't have any help, and so he was taking a nap. But that's what business owners do. We start the school, we start the daycare, and I'm in a suit, and you got a clogged sink. So I'm taking my jacket, I'm crawling under the sink, I'm taking the pipe apart, because that's what you do. Mm-hmm. And boy, if I didn't have a great partner, and I'm just happy to also say we just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary, so we're still together.
Hey, congratulations.
After the experience of starting a business.
That's awesome.
And I also have an appreciation. When we put our companies together, you're also trying to follow all the state regulations and the daycare industry, the providing services to children is very regulated. We actually had to create multiple entities. So we had to have a professional corporation, an LLP, to employ the therapists. But in New York State, teachers are not considered professionals. So then we had to have an LLC to employ the teachers.
Gosh.
Then we had to have a separate company that actually had the real estate. So you're running 3 businesses, and
Thank goodness Mary got that accountant.
Oh my gosh, you're not kidding me. You're not kidding me.
So what made you transition from all of that into to bring you to Gannon? I was just curious.
Well, so at one point, as we were selling our company, the organization that ended up purchasing our company was a large nonprofit. They had about 1,300 employees. Their CEO was retiring, and they had approached me, and they had asked, would you be interested in the CEO position as we merge? And I had a choice to make. So this was a fork in the road, right? And everybody faces this decision at some point. I was also in the higher ed side. I was at Duville College in Buffalo, and I had increased responsibilities. I was chairing a couple different departments, and I had a decision to make. Do I want to stay in higher ed, or do I want to go into private sector? As a first-generation student, my education gave me opportunities. Those doors would have never opened if I didn't have that degree and that education. I wanted to be able to provide that to other students. So I chose the path of higher ed. I walked away from the CEO position, and I ended up leaving Duville. I took a job as the dean of graduate studies at a 4-year institution that was moving into, they were just starting graduate studies. So I was the founding dean. So I had an opportunity to build again, right? So just sold our company, but I couldn't get that out of my system. I want to keep building. So I saw that as an opportunity to meet my passion of providing higher ed, but also a chance to build. And we did. We built up a graduate school, was very successful in increasing enrollment. And then I had a friend call me about the position at Gannon. And when I came to Erie, I came downtown. I was here for the interview. I was staying at the Sheridan, and in the morning I opened up the window and I saw all the boats. I looked at the bay. I took a picture. I sent it to my wife. I said, "This is downtown Erie. How beautiful is this?" I saw all the great excitement at Gannon. Met Dr. Taylor, toured the buildings. Again, saw this opportunity to build. And how could I pass that up? I wanted to be here. I actually told Dr. Taylor, I met with him for breakfast, and we had a 30-minute breakfast. I said, "Well, Dr. Taylor, I got 30 minutes to convince you why you should hire me for this job."
That's awesome. Good for you.
And it worked. I can't believe it, but it worked.
In 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So as a Gannon alum, excited that, everything that you're doing for Gannon and the school year has just started. What has been like your most favorite part so far of the school year? Or even your first year as president?
The first year has been, it's been fantastic. Now, I will tell you there's a lot going on in higher ed right now. We're seeing a lot of pressure on enrollment. We're seeing institutions close. Actually, colleges and universities across the United States, they closed at a rate of about 1 per week this past year.
Oh my goodness.
So we have less students going to school, the same number of institutions. So there's a lot of pressure on the market. However, I see it as an opportunity. I really do. And it's going to force us to think about how we deliver higher ed. It's going to force us to think about how we keep it affordable. It's going to force us to think how we adapt to what students are looking for. So I'm excited about the challenge. Now, again, it's not helping me grow my hair back at all. but I'm excited about it. The beginning of the school year, I'll tell you my favorite event. We have a convocation, and this year we had the convocation at the Warner Theater. This is where we bring all of our first-year students together, and they come up on stage, and we actually hand them a book to read because we have a first-year reading program. And why I love it, the institution, the faculty attend that event, current students attend that event, and we welcome our students into our community. We hand them a book, and there's a symbol to it. The next time those kids will be on stage, and I call them kids, but the next time those students will be on stage is when they graduate. So now they've got their own story to write. What kind of story? We're going to give you the pen, we're going to give you the paper, right? But it's up to you. Are you going to write a couple sentences? Are you going to write a novel? That's up to you. We tell them this is your opportunity, and you need to take the opportunities to write your story. So that's my favorite part, just getting the community together and welcoming those new students.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. I'm glad that you mentioned that colleges and universities, higher education in general, is having to adapt a little bit and figure out their path. Because I work in that space every day down in Corey, and we're doing a lot of the same things, making it affordable for rural citizens that don't have the means to entry as much. So good to hear you say that.
Yeah, and the students are looking for, after COVID, the students are telling us they're looking for an in-person experience, yet they want the flexibility of a high-end digital experience. So they want to be able to move back and forth in those worlds, and we're not all ready for that as much. I don't know about you guys. I like a hard copy book.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
I can't read on the screen.
Yeah, but students they're downloading biology. They're looking at biology books on their phones, and we have to adapt. We've got to listen, and we've got to figure out what they're looking for. But yet, you have to have some sort of accountability, and we got to make sure that they're getting the skill set they need so that employers want to hire them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Brad, did you have a question?
Yeah, so Walter, I know it's been a brisk year, and I've had the luxury of watching you just juggle a million balls in the air. As Gannon's moving forward into the next year, what do you see for Gannon? What do you want to share with the audience about how you're moving things ahead?
Yeah, I think we, as we look at the future of higher education, I do think institutions need to think about their own flexibility and really have to look at how they manage. And not everybody in higher ed wants to think about their degree programs as products, right? But they're products. So products sell, and then sometimes they don't sell. You've got to stop offering the products that aren't selling, and you've got to adapt your products or create new ones that adjust to the current needs in the market. For example, Brad, everybody's talking about AI right now, and so we've got to be able to figure out how are we incorporating AI into the curriculum so that students are ready to work with it in the workplace, but also how do we use AI as an institution to recruit students, to retain students, to create a better experience for our employees? So that's one example of where I feel institutions really got to dive in. We've charged, actually one of our vice presidents, our chief technology officer is leading an AI initiative right now and bringing different groups around the campus together to discuss these very topics so that we can put forward an AI plan. Now, the plans are only as good as those that execute them. So there's a lot of plans sitting on shelves. The key is execution and making sure that you move forward on it.
I couldn't agree more, Walter. To your point, technology and immersive industries are constantly popping up, but they're popping up more frequently and faster, which puts that burden on universities to understand those things and adjust and incorporate much faster as well. It's a really good point.
Yeah.
And AI is a great example where it blew up quickly and it's version after version, and now it's what's the best use case to then bring it into your organization to plus it up for the gaining experience. Absolutely.
And Brad, higher ed is not always functioned like private corporations as far as speed and execution. Yeah. And we've got a great team at Gannon, and we've got people that are moving on this, and they understand that. We talk about how the evolution of higher education is changing. We talk about the headwinds of higher ed. Well, we've been talking about the headwinds coming for the last 5 years. Right. We're getting blown in the face right now, like knocked over with the headwinds of higher education, and we're seeing it in enrollment numbers and the challenges and the costs. And we can't keep talking about changing. We've got to actually change.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And to draw back a little bit of the conversation to ETI, I'm very happy to say we're kind of in line with what you're saying. We have the ability to do early intakes with startup ideas, and we try to form the idea in the respect of where the emerging spaces. Is there an AI application to it? And
I got to jump in here, Brad. We're coming to the end of our half hour.
That was so fast.
We got about 30 seconds.
That was quick.
I want to thank Dr. Walter Iwaneko for coming on the show and telling us about Gannon and everything that you have going on, and your entrepreneurial background. That was fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really
was. Thanks for having me, and really appreciate the time.
All right. Well, stick around. We'll be back after the news break. You are listening to Community Chronicles Radio.
Yay!
Welcome back to Community Chronicles Radio, brought to you weekly by Gannon University's Erie Technology Incubator, in partnership with the Corey Higher Education Council. The Erie Technology Incubator, located at 900 State Street, works in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and provides technical assistance through the entrepreneurial process. I'll spit it out. This show features members of this ecosystem and the entrepreneurs in the Erie area. So, that was a great conversation in the first half hour of the show, but I would like to welcome our next guest. I am an alum of Edinburgh University, what is now Penn West Edinburgh, and I get the alumni magazine. So I was checking that out the other day when it showed up, and I saw a feature in there on the Bean and Bear Cafe, and we have one of the owners here today, Katie Spangenberger. They started the Bean and Bear Cafe in 2023. Welcome to the show, Katie. Do we have Katie? She might not have been ready.
Katie, are you muted?
All right, we'll flip what we do here. Once Katie gets on the call, she is coming through on Zoom, and we'll come right back to her. But you had something you wanted to discuss, so this is the time.
This
Kathy.
is the time. So this is Kathy, and for the past month, for all of our listeners, you have heard me be extremely excited about the Corey Higher Ed's Master Homeowner series that they offered. And last night was the first night, and it was absolutely positively amazing. If you are thinking about it, go online. You can take one of the classes. You can take the rest of the classes. We received a toolkit last night, safety glasses, this caulking spackle thing, but it had a
Is that what they called it?
Well, there was an official name, but I wasn't paying attention. You got fed dinner. I mean, but it was so knowledgeable, and they taught you they talked to you about the information, but then you had to go and do it. So they actually had drills and saws and things that, I've never used before. So it was a great class, and I highly, highly recommend everyone going on the Corey Higher Ed website and signing up.
So yeah, you missed the first class. So we had where you could sign up and at a discount do all of the classes, and most of the people did that. But if you're still interested in these courses, you can sign up for one individually or all of the rest.
I think we have Katie now.
Katie's on. All right, we'll circle back to the home maintenance stuff. But right now we have Katie from Bean and Bear Cafe. Welcome, Katie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I thought I could hear you. I don't know if Matt could hear you at first, and I could hear you saying something, but we'll figure it out. So we'll start off by just having you tell us a little bit about yourself, Katie.
Yeah, so I, as they mentioned, I am an Edinburgh alum as well. And I went to Edinburgh University with a business administration degree. And then after I graduated, I actually worked in higher ed for 7 years, and then pivoted a little bit and decided to open the coffee shop. So we opened the coffee shop almost a year ago now. Our 1-year anniversary is 2 weeks from now. So opening a coffee shop had always been a dream and a passion of mine, and we saw the opportunity, and here we are a year later.
So can you talk about how the shop got its name?
Yeah, so it was actually my sister's idea. We were trying to think of something, and there was obviously things about like Fighting Scots or just Edinburgh themed, but we wanted to do something a little bit different. And my sister was like, well, what about the Bean and the Bear? Because my husband and I's cat, we call the Bear, and my brother and sister-in-law's dog, we call the Bean. So we thought it would be fun to do something kind of pet themed, and we can do some cute logos and stuff like that. So that's kind of where the Bean and the Bear came from. And then we thought too, with Bean, Coffee Bean also works as well. But talking with people, a lot of people, they have pets that they call either Bean or Bear. Or I actually know someone that his daughters, he calls them Bean and Bear. So he bought a t-shirt for his daughters because that just everyone seems to have a Bean and Bear in their life.
It absolutely. Interestingly, my youngest daughter, and she hates it, we have always called her the Bear because she's kind of a strong-willed person. So that's been her nickname since she was little, the Bear.
Yeah, I see now the logo. I see the little cat and dog in the little teacup, and that's really cute. So yeah, I was wondering. I have cats, and I'm at home here doing the show, and I almost thought some of them were going to join me as co-hosts this morning, and the one wanted to jump right on the laptop. So I was like, no, no, no. Now they're off doing something else, so that's better now. But we always like to feature guests that appreciate and use local and fresh made ingredients. And can you tell us how this works at the Bean and Bear?
Yeah, so the first one that I really wanted to look at was obviously our coffee beans and the products we use there. And we decided to use Happy Mug coffee, which actually originated in Edinburgh. In the complex we're in, there's a building across the parking lot from us, and Happy Mug actually used to start roasting their beans in that building. And they now have outgrown that space and are now on 12th Street. So that was really a big part of it for me, was trying to find a local coffee roaster and supplier, and Happy Mug kind of checked all those boxes. And especially a lot of Edinburgh townies that come in, they're so excited when they see Happy Mug beans, because a lot of people miss having them right in town roasting. So we use Happy Mug, and we also use Majestic Baking Company for our bread. We use them for our Italian bread that we use for sandwiches, as well as sourdough that we use for our avocado toast. And we try and supply local when we can. The summer, like this past summer, with a lot of local produce, we were buying produce from Vanco Farms up in Edinburgh to supply our vegetables for a lot of our food. So anytime we can do local, we try to supply local when we can.
Now, what kind of items do you have available on your menu?
Yeah, so we have like just regular roasted coffee, drip coffee, and then we also do a lot of specialty coffee drinks like lattes, espresso, cappuccinos. We have refreshers, which are like the fruit refreshers that everyone seems to love, especially in the summer, cold brew. So we have a lot of coffee and specialty drinks, as well as breakfast and lunch items. So we have made-to-order breakfast sandwiches that are customizable, as well as lunch sandwiches and paninis, and avocado toast, and homemade baked goods as well.
I was looking on your website and I see you have boxed water. I'm like, is that like boxed wine? Or no, it's just in water in a box. I found that interesting. I was like,
Yeah, it's actually all of our cups are compostable, and the boxed water are plant-based cardboard, and that's compostable as well. So we try and use as many compostable products as we can, so that we're giving back to the environment as well.
That's awesome.
That's
That's
fantastic.
neat. I had never thought, like I said, you usually see bottled water, and I thought it was interesting to see boxed water, and I'm like, oh, that's nice.
I'm looking
So,
at the menu here, Steph. I'm looking at the
yeah.
menu. There's going to have to be a day where I make a long trip over to Edinburgh and then bring stuff in.
Definitely.
We're gonna have
You could
to
bring
do
me
that.
a chai latte.
like a field
I
trip.
like those.
Our chais are really, really good. They're one of the best chais I've tried, truthfully. We have a really good product for our chai.
It was funny. The first time I ever had chai latte was at, I think, Panera Bread or something like that. And I was like, oh, I don't think I've ever tasted chai before. And then I was kind of hooked. So, yeah, I definitely have to make a trip over as well. So what events do you have coming up?
Yeah, so we actually have a mobile trailer in addition to our brick and mortar. So this Sunday we'll be at Goodell Gardens for their homegrown harvest festival. So we'll be serving, in addition to our brick and mortar store, we'll be out and about at Goodell on Sunday, as well as the following Friday we'll be at Vanco's for their Oktoberfest. And then we do have our 1 year anniversary coming up. So we're hoping to do some fun things for that at the end of the month.
Wow,
So how
sounds
can
like you're
I-
super busy.
Yes.
What
So
da-
how can a non-profit? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say,
We'll
what's
do
the
it.
date? What's the date for the 1 year anniversary?
So September 26th is our official 1 year anniversary, but that's like a random weekday. I think it's a Thursday. So we're going to try and do some fun things, hopefully that following weekend, to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of us opening.
Okay, I'm done stuffing.
Okay. So how can a nonprofit work with you for a fundraiser? Can you talk about your work in the community so far?
Yeah, so we thought it was super important to give back to the Edinboro and surrounding communities. My husband and I, in addition to owning the coffee shop, we also work with the John McClain Marching Band. And I, this past year, ran the Highland Games, and he runs the fireworks. So we're constantly involved in the community. And one thing we wanted to do was give back. And so we decided when we opened to do fundraising days for organizations and nonprofits. So nonprofits, and it doesn't have to be a nonprofit, it could be like a student organization or an athletic team. They can sign up for a fundraising day, and anytime during that day and the time slot we assign to them, we will give 15% of our net sales to their organization. So all they have to do is recruit people to come and show up and buy a cup of coffee, and 15% of those sales for the day will go back to that organization.
Well, that's fantastic. So, Katie, this is Kathy from the Erie Technology Incubator. I am definitely going to have to go down and visit because I love coffee and everything you were talking about. I love Majestic bread, but I'm super hungry. But
I am too. I haven't had breakfast.
I haven't either.
This
So
menu-
my stomach was starting to growl. But anyway, so one thing that I love to ask all of the guests that come on the radio is, you went from higher ed to starting a business, with your family. What is like the best piece of advice that you wish you would have known when you started the entire process that would have helped you?
I think the biggest thing is just telling myself to relax when I can. Truthfully,
That's a good one.
There's a lot that goes into running a small business, and sometimes you don't realize. And luckily I have an amazing staff that is running the coffee shop right now so that I can, jump on the Zoom and have this conversation. But there are definitely times where, people are sick, things happen, and the only person that can go in is you. So definitely just having, that grit and tenacity is important, but also giving yourself time to decompress and hang out with family and everything. And luckily I have a great family that supported me through all of this. So that was super helpful. But yeah, it's just, it's definitely more than a full-time job. I'm not complaining because I love it. But yeah, it's definitely oh wow, sometimes I just need to take a nap. And just build some time for myself into my day-to-day routine, because it can be long days and good days, but still long days.
And like our previous guest, Walter Iwaneko said, sometimes, if a machine breaks, it's you. You're the owner, but guess what? You have to go in and fix pipes and that's kind of part of the deal. So it is time consuming for sure.
So I have another curiosity question, Katie. Because, in working with the Beehive clients that we have, they're always on the fence of brick and mortar or, like a food truck. What made you decide to do both? And did you start them at the same time?
Yeah, so we actually, we plan to do the brick and mortar first.
Okay.
That was always the original plan, was to do the brick and mortar, especially in our area. Edinboro, there's no local coffee shop directly in Edinboro.
Oh, wow.
There's a few chain coffee restaurants, but there's nothing that's a local coffee shop. And being a college town and a resort town, we really knew we needed to have a brick and mortar coffee shop in Edinboro. So that was the original plan. And then there was always the thought of, well, maybe we could do some mobile events and, have coffee for event weddings, or Goodell Gardens is doing their Harvest Festival, so kind of branch out. So the mobile trailer was a secondary addition, and we didn't get the trailer till this summer.
Okay.
So the brick and mortar was always the original plan, and then after just talking with a few people and talking with event planners, the trailer came second, and we decided to do that as well.
Fantastic. I love it when people do customer discovery before they jump with both feet into an endeavor. So kudos to you.
Thanks.
So speaking of the trailer and food truck, how can someone request that for an event?
Yeah, so it's actually, if they go on our website, we will be launching a page on our website here shortly with information about the coffee trailer, as well as how to contact us to schedule the trailer for use.
That's awesome. I mean, just to have the, the vision and, was that part of your 5-year goal of, possibly getting a food trailer, or did the opportunity just present itself with talking to people?
I think it was more like people were asking, and we were talking with event planners, and we're like, you know what, that might be a good idea. So we looked a little bit more into it, and it kind of just, the stars aligned. The brick and mortar really was the original plan, but the coffee trailer is working out well. We took it to campus for move-in weekend. And freshmen, it was a great way for freshmen to discover us, and then we could say, hey, now you can check out the brick and mortar in town for more, because we would just do a limited menu in the trailer.
Sure.
But it was a great way to bring the coffee shop to the students on campus to discover us, and then they can then attend the coffee shop in town for the rest of the semester.
So sometimes with the brick and mortar, you get this idea that, there aren't technological advances that are taking place there. It's kind of a older school way of doing things. But I see on your menu here, or on your webpage rather, that you can order online. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that works?
Yeah, so we don't have a drive-through based like where our location is. So we decided to do online ordering so that people, especially on their way to work and their morning commute, could order online real quick and then come and pick it up. So we use Square for our point of sale. So Square allows us to integrate online, so people can just go onto our website, select what they want, and pay, and then we get a ticket printed, we put it on the cup, and then put it on the shelf so people can just walk in and grab their stuff and head out. So that way people who are on their way, or if they have a big order and they want to order ahead of time, they can do that. We actually have had a couple college students, like if there's a line and they're sitting there working, they'll do an online order so that way they're not standing in line. And then when their drink's ready, they'll just come up and grab it and then go sit back down. So it's, we do have, our traditional register and everything, but we do have the opportunity for people to order online if they'd like. Especially we see a lot of online orders in the morning as people are heading in for work and just need to grab something on their way in.
So Katie, because we're part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, were there any agencies that you used to help start your business that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so we actually received funding from the Erie County Redevelopment Authority.
Oh, great.
To help start our small business. So that was the biggest one that we used to help with funding.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're super nice.
Tina, they were fantastic. And they helped us with the whole application process, everything, and the turnaround time was great too. So that was the main resource that we had.
Yeah, and that's such a great resource.
Yeah, we appreciate Tina and the folks that work over there.
Absolutely.
Quite a bit. Yeah, she comes in and does a radio show right after ours. So.
That's right.
Yeah. So let me see where we are here. Brad, are you still on the line? Do you have any questions?
I don't think he's online.
Oh, Brad jumped off. Okay. All right. He usually has a great question that I can't think of
I know,
this early
right?
in the morning. So he comes at this with a different thought process. So it's always good to get his feel of things. So I guess, we talked a little bit about who you use in the ecosystem. Were there any challenges that you experienced along the way that you feel could have been done just a little bit better or needed assistance with?
I actually don't think so. Most things I had, overall, I think it went very smoothly for what we were doing. Luckily, our landlord was fantastic and provided a lot of resources for renovations and everything. So we kind of had a good team at the building that we're leasing from to help guide us through renovations and everything like that. And like I said, the Erie Redevelopment Authority, they did a wonderful job guiding us through funding. So there wasn't really too many barriers for us, which I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, some of the things you mentioned are usually the things that trip people up. Landlords can be especially difficult, but what kind of renovations and things that you can do to their building. But that's great. I'm glad that things went very smoothly. But we will definitely. I drive down from Erie to Corey every day. It will be like a little detour, but I'll definitely be over to get some coffee and some treats for the folks at work.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
You could do that before your wedding tomorrow.
Oh yeah, one more thing.
Yeah, right. Just put it on the list.
Yes, all the time. Yeah.
Let me see what hour I have here and there. So one quick plug: where can people find you? What's the website?
Yeah, so we're located at 222 West Plum Street in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, which is in the Lakeside Commons, the Edinburgh Mall for the locals. And you can find us at beanandbearcafe.com.
All right, great. Thank you for coming on the show, Kate.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Katie. Congratulations.
All right. So we're circling back to the things that the Corey High Ed are in the middle of and what we're doing. And we had talked about the homeowners course. And Kathy loved the first night.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If you missed the opportunity to sign up for all of the classes and for a discount, you still can take some of these classes. So we're excited about what's coming up. Did you know which class is the next one?
The next one, I have it.
Basic home maintenance, Master Homeowner Basic Home Maintenance. That's September 19th.
That's one you probably don't want to miss.
Yeah, absolutely. No, every single one of them I'm super excited about. And can you believe I'm so sad because the plumbing one, which is the one that I really, really need, I'm going to be out of town. So they're going to try and videotape it. I said,
oh, great.
I go, even if it's just like a phone, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Great.
Just so I can get the gist of everything. But, again, as I was talking about at the top of the hour, I just love the fact that everybody got to do hands-on, so they talked about the tools and, I've been nervous to hang this large picture in my house and then I bought shelves to hang because I'm like, I'm going to have to drill these holes and put those plastic anchor things in, anchors, right?
Yep.
No, you can go buy self-tap anchors and you can either just use your own screwdriver or you just do a little tap, tap, tap with the hammer that came with our toolkit that we got last night. And then you just screw it in and it was bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. You could hang your picture.
Wow.
And they actually had a picture of a squirrel that then you could hang to make sure that, it didn't fall. And, you learned how to use a hacksaw and you learned how to use a drill. And, it was really great to have that hands-on.
The plumbing and electricity. Those are the two that people probably need the most refresher.
Right. Yeah. So, really, really excited. And for each one of them, they are going to have, like for the plumbing, disappointed again, they're going to have, a toilet and a sink and they're going to simulate plugs, and then you have to take the pipes apart to get the clogs out. So, it's very thought out. It's the first one. And what else I thought was neat is you had to take a survey when the class started to see what you knew and what you didn't know. And then at the end, it was sort of kind of the same survey, but it was trickier. It was tricky questions. And on the back, hey, what did we do right? What could we improve upon? But I thought, what a great way to kind of track, did you learn? Did you retain? But, I cannot say enough. I highly, highly, highly recommend if you're listening, to go on because it was just such a great class. And I was really the only newbie. Everyone else that was there, they've,
background.
They have a background or, I just, like we have two pastors in our class and they just, bought their own home. So they can't call the maintenance people from the church.
Right.
Anymore. They have to do it, right? And one lady, it's a refresher. She's been on her own for 30 years,
right.
And asking questions and refreshers. So the class is for everybody. I'm so sorry. I could go on forever because it was so awesome. So I want to thank the Corey Higher Ed, right? We don't have anything like this in Erie. So
Right.
thank you so much for doing that.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that we were able to do it. Kara, who does the programming, finds the most interesting programming, and the classes are just filling up. Steph, what else do we have where there is availability? I know the sign language course is coming. We get a lot of requests.
Oh, yeah. We have the sign language course coming up. Let me see. That is coming up. I'm looking at I got to get to the next screen. I was on the homeowners. I was thinking I probably need some of that. I'm one of those people who likes to think they know how to fix everything, but my dad would teach. Yeah.
even to know where your main water shutoff is, because water can cause a tremendous amount of damage in your house. And if you have a leak, it's not like you have to go and solder pipes together. Just shut the water off and then call the plumber. So
Right.
a lot of people have no idea where the main shutoff is. And that's always amazing.
Including me.
You probably should find that.
I have to find it.
All right. Sorry, Steph.
Yes. Oh, that's okay. I got to the American Sign Language course. Yes, it's called American Sign Language, the Basics and Beyond. That's coming up September 24th, and it's coming up sooner than we think. And it runs for 9 weeks, and it's only $100 for all 9 weeks. And you will learn about the deaf culture, as well as sign language basics, conversation, the alphabet, numbers, colors, animals, foods, family members, a lot of things. And also an introduction to ASL in the deaf community. And of course, once again, it starts on Tuesday, September 24th. So make sure you get registered for that. We've had a couple people registering for that. And then we have, because it's Friday the 13th, I wanted to plug our paranormal class.
We got about a minute, so you'll have to do that one fast. That's all right.
October 9th at 10 o'clock. Jamestown Paranormal Investigators are going to be at the Corey Hyatt October 9th, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Once again, only $10. That's going to be an awesome class, so make sure you get registered for that. I'm sure that's going to fill up fast. So.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody for listening to Community Chronicles Radio. We're going to take a short break from the live shows. We're going to have a rerun next week, and then something special coming up the week after that. We'll be back live here on October 4th with our regular show run. So we'll look forward to seeing you. Stick around for Lath and Tina on the Economic Pulse right here.